Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Everybody, it's Tom Foster on the World of Marketing, and today I have a super special guest, Wes Mathews. Wes Mathews of High Level Marketing, who is interestingly, well, I guess you could say he's a competitor. Like, what is Tom doing having a competitor on the phone or on the podcast? But this is an incredible story, everybody, that I want you all to listen to. Like, first of all, Wes is an entrepreneur and has a great story that you're all going to hear in a minute about what he has done. And he is the chief revenue officer for one of the top digital marketing agencies, web marketing agencies in the country. And he's just done a fantastic job. He's pretty unassuming guy. So, but you will meet him. But before this, everybody, you got to do the thing where you got to subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff. I'm supposed to say that, Wes. I got to do that for this podcast because I got in trouble. But Wes, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
So everybody, I met Wes after my friend Ben Glass forwarded me a podcast called, what is called? The Built to Sell. And Ben Glass forwards me this text early Saturday morning, May 8th, which was the day after you did it, I think, and said, FWM on steroids. And when Ben sends me things, I pay attention. And I listened to that podcast. I think it was an hour and a half on my walk. And I listened to the whole thing. And I was blown away by how similar our stories are. And so with that, Wes, I'd like you to please tell us your entrepreneur journey, your story from how you got started to now, because ultimately everybody, where he is now is he sold his company. But I also want you to share that, how you did that, because it's amazing. And for all the entrepreneurs that are listening,
yeah, for sure,
Wes has got the entrepreneur success story of all time. So please, Wes.
Awesome. Well, hey, Tom, I appreciate it. Thank you. So, yeah, I guess rewind back. So I'm 39 years old today for like the next couple months. Back in 2009, let's call it 2007, where I came from was early on, I did the college thing. I went to Schoolcraft College, a local community college. I was on the 6-year program to get my 2-year associate's degree. School is just not my thing. I don't even know if I opened a textbook in high school. So, my parents were both extremely worried about what I was going to be when I grew up, right? So fast forward, I worked for a mortgage company. That was okay, but I'm a young kid, just not really know what I'm doing. I'm selling mortgages, doing pretty okay. My first job was, there's your phone and there's a computer. Go sell something, right? Go build a relationship with realtors. So wasn't really too interested in that. Shortly thereafter, I met a guy who had a web company out of a local city here in Michigan, and started moonlighting for them, selling websites. And their model was, hey, we'll build anything you sell, right? So that led into me selling things and them not being able to fulfill on those things. And they made it very, very complicated to do so. So I watched this company kind of run around like chickens with their head cut off, and just thought to myself, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Like for me, I'm like, you either can choose to do a shitty job or do a good job. And to me, it's like, it's harder to do a shittier job than it is to do a good job. So I ended up taking one of their developers and I had him build me a proprietary system where I was able to get small local businesses ranked on Google relatively easy for a fee, a small fee. So I'm like, okay, I have an idea and I can get these, small businesses ranked. I love the entrepreneur small business. And look, at the time I'm 24, maybe 25. So I'm still young. And, from a tech perspective, business owners will talk to me because I'm that demographic, in terms of who could help them with tech. What happened there semi-successful, kind of ups and downs, made a little bit of money. It was okay. But I met the gentleman by the name of John Bowerman, who I shortly there partnered after, and we started High Level Marketing in 2009. So out of this platform, what quickly began to happen was people would ask me to build their website, because what we were doing at the time, we were getting my sort of directory ranked, and it wasn't on their website. So that led me into saying, man, I remember how horrific it was working with this other company and doing websites. But then I realized, like, if I can start building websites for small businesses, yada, yada, yada. Long story short, this gentleman, John, had his own CMS, his own proprietary content management system. And I learned through the grapevine that he was a good developer, but he wasn't really delivering from a customer service perspective. So all of his clients said, nice guy, just won't answer the phone. And I said, perfect. So when we started working together, I basically said, look, yeah, like, right. let me be the ops guy. Let me be the sales guy. Let me service all the customers. You build and just make this tech what it needs to be. Because at the time it was Joomla, WordPress was, somewhat around, and
yeah,
Joomla was really clunky.
Ask, like, why didn't you just use that stuff?
It was horrible.
Why
so
our
whole philosophy was like, MICE was the acronym, and it stands for Manage Your Content Easily. So the pitch to consumers was, hey, like, you can go in and edit your website. It's super easy. Like, my mom can do it. Joomla was really complicated. These other systems out there were very clunky. So we're like, look, we can create this, this idea around, if you have a website, you can manage it yourself. And lo and behold, it actually worked. So I'm like, wow, here's a developer that sort of understands, what the end user needs. Long story short, we partnered up in 2009, and we're like, let's just go all in. So, over the course of, a decade, we came together, slowly adding projects from day one. And our business model was get customers on our proprietary technology and then implement the SEO strategy behind that and grow. Like, we really didn't have a plan when we first partnered together. We didn't really know what the business was going to be. But, we had core philosophy of like, let's just do great work and let's just continue to go and grow, and had a great relationship. I think at the time, we weren't friends from before. So it wasn't like going into, partnership with a college roommate or buddy. It was like two guys, same age. Like, I think we were both just married, had one child at the time. So it was a perfect marriage of like, hey, we're yin yang. Let's just go. There's no drama. So we just went at it and said, hey, let's 50-50 partner and let's grow and go this thing. So that was kind of the original concept and when we came together.
And
so
you said, like, I just want to say you were frustrated because you had worked for that other web company that was basically like, you go out and you sell it, we'll build it. And that was a frustrating experience, because that would put you in a position where they couldn't build what you would sell, right? Isn't that what ended up happening?
Yeah,
you wanted to do that differently with your own company.
Yeah, my feedback to that was like, nobody gives a shit about your company. It's me. I'm the guy meeting these people face to face, shaking their hand and building a relationship. And for me, it's like, it doesn't need to be this difficult. So I set out early on to build a company and a culture like customers matter, customers first, right? And if you really treat them the right way, and then look, we live in a world of web and SEO, and we're marketing, and it's SEO, this hocus pocus, for lack of a better term, like understanding the client's expectations and then delivering on that. It's a simple concept, but there's a lot of companies out there that just take that for granted and quite frankly don't deliver. We wanted to be the last SEO company that somebody, selects. And that was important to us, like just building on the relationships, building on referrals. And, we continue that for over a decade. And, the beauty about it was John just got better and better. And as, technology changes and Google updates and just the whole dynamic of digital marketing change, we're able to build that into our proprietary technology. So that morphed into client dashboards, internal workflows, and we really built our business off of this concept and idea. Eventually we started using Salesforce and different things that we integrated into the system for better workflow. But ultimately, everything we did, we looked outside to see if there was a resource out there, and we just realized like, hey, let's just build it. Let's make a better mousetrap and use it selfishly for our own company. And I think that's what ultimately allowed us to move faster, get big clients on board, and just, really, really grow and scale the business. So it was refreshing.
This is all your websites run on proprietary software, right?
Yeah, for the most part. So, we do have some clients that had requirements where they have to run off WordPress.
Right.
They didn't trust us enough in the beginning to put it on our technology, which is okay.
Right.
But yeah, I would say 97% of everything we do runs off mice.
Yeah. And what is your, just to get off topic a little bit, but what is your opinion about proprietary software? Because, you said like you've had some clients come to you, they've got a WordPress. We have the same thing. Like we have this argument about whether WordPress is better than a proprietary system. What is your thoughts on that based on your own experience?
Yeah. So it's a little mixed, but I would say we focus mainly on small to mid-sized businesses, entrepreneurial spirited companies. So, from 0 to $10 million, I think our system, our proprietary technology is fine because, talking about security is a big one. I've seen a lot of people held hostage with WordPress. I've seen plugins go down. I've seen a lot of bad things happen. On our end, I think, thankfully, just me being behind the company and the culture and who I am about doing good work, we've had a lot of great success and a lot of advantages because a lot of customers don't realize that, yeah, you might be on a hosting fee or a monthly SEO package, but there's a million things that are happening out of the background where we're protecting that customer, not to mention all the updates and all the things that need to happen that we're updating unbeknownst to a customer. So for example, if you're on WordPress, you're as good as you are today when it launches. There's not somebody there pushing through the updates and doing all these things for you. So I think that was a real big advantage for us. But again, at some point, some companies, it just makes sense. Depending if they have a technical team or, how many people are actually working on the website. But early on, and what kind of got us to this point, it's always been the scrappy entrepreneur that might have one person in their marketing department that really needed our full service suite of services to really help them grow and grow their business. So, I never poo-poo WordPress or any other system, just for the most part, the clients that fit our model really benefit from the proprietary technology that we're able to deploy for them. So,
yeah, you said it right there. And that's the same with us. Okay. So you guys got started, you and John, and you're rocking and rolling. How long were you doing this, and how many clients did you have a particular niche you were focused on, or was it we'll take anybody? What was your attitude?
Yeah, in the beginning, it's like let's be everything to everybody, and then I quickly learned man, that's hard. That's hard work. Right. So we really started focusing on this on the local contractor, like the B2C, the roofer, plumber, electrician. Yeah. A business where the consumer goes online and searches heavily organic, because that's really our claim to fame was we were really good at organic optimization locally. So if you're a roofer in Plymouth, Michigan, and you can see yourself number one and you can get leads from that, and we build you a kick-ass website behind that, right, you're really, really happy with high-level marketing. And again, our team just placing people in the keywords that are heavily searched, and that's really where we stuck, because we tried the B2B method as well, but we used to have clients ranked all over the place, but they're not being searched online. So yes, they're ranked number one for a lot of keywords, but nobody's searching those keywords. So at some point that vanity falls off, and
yep.
Me personally, I was big in architecting the company as there's got to be ROI in anything you do. And for me, I was like, how do we build a system that's really transparent to the customer so they can understand I'm paying HLM X amount per month and here's what I'm getting in return. Right. And we really kind of use that as our North Star as we took on clients and as we started to manage clients, because the differentiating factor between us and other web companies out there, it might not seem so different, but we had customer service reps who managed the account cradle to grave after that customer goes through our production process. So that was our sort of our commitment to our customers. Look, we set the expectation early on as to what we're doing, and then when you go live, we don't leave you to say, hey, figure it out, or here's what we did for you. We have an ongoing relationship, and we're all striving to hit the goals that we set forth with the customer. So try to make it really easy in this complicated thing called marketing, right? Because everybody's got a marketing company story, right? Or a digital marketing company that they worked with story.
Yep. And it's constantly changing, and new things are introduced. Since you and I have been in this business, how many things it's just crazy. It's not what it once was.
It's crazy.
And Okay, so how long from that time where you said, okay, let's do this thing, John, and you started it with however many clients, how long did you guys get before, let's get to the end of the story here, because
Yeah.
what was it, last year you started, and COVID hit and you started thinking about, like,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, we partnered in '09. We grew to about a little over 1,000 clients. COVID hit. So I remember I came back from a trip. I was in Puerto Rico in February, came back, got extremely ill. And I think about the day or two after I got back to the office, I had a COO who sort of ran the day to day and led my managers. We practice EOS, and EOS has been a game changer for my business. So he was like my filter, and we have a meeting, and he's like, there's this thing, it's called COVID, and it's going to hit, and it's going to be bad, and we're going to have to shut down. I'm like, whoa, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is crazy.
Right.
And well, a week and a half later, we're shut down. We close our office. Everybody's working remote. And, that gave me a lot of time to, be a digital marketing. We're really flexible with our team members. Like, they can work from home, and we had a beautiful office in West Bloomfield, Michigan, but we were remote friendly to begin with. So for us, it wasn't this huge transition to say, hey, nobody come to the office till further notice. Well, days became weeks, weeks became months, and then months became, holy shit, like what's next, right? So I think, as a leader of an organization, and we had about 48 employees at the time. Look, and I think I'm my own like worst critic, right? Like the guy that lives between here is really hard on myself. So I started questioning myself as a CEO of my own company, and just, I'm an entrepreneur, and like, what am I doing? And I'm at home. I have four young kids at home, and my wife, and I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And thankfully, we have such great relationships with our customers. Like, we didn't lose a lot of customers, but hindsight's easy, right? Like, as we're going through this, our business model is customers pay setup fees and then monthly reoccurring fees behind it. So obviously, when people start to get tight, or things are like the sky's falling, they're going to stop paying us monthly, correct? I mean, that's the easiest thing to think of. So as this unfolds, right, I'm the guy, I'm transparent, I have zero filter. I think one of the benefits that I've been able to have with HLM and the people I've hired and built relationships with is I'm a very transparent, non-filter guy. So I got out early, like right in front of this, and kind of put a 5-point plan together for the company, because I want to let my team know you're safe. Like, as the world's falling apart around you and you don't know what the hell's going on, and you're watching the news, like, I'll be very straight up with you. And I came out with a 5-point plan that said, until we get to 3 or 4, like, you don't have to really start to worry. We never got past step 1. And I think step 1 was like executive compensation cut by 25% or something like that. I don't remember the exact details, but it was very much to show the team, I care about you, and I'm going to work my ass off to ensure and protect everybody, because it was my goal to keep everybody together. And I just didn't want them to worry about that. Like, I can take that burden. People, digital marketing, they're concerned about things and may have different views than me. And it was a challenging time. And at the time, my partner looked at me and said, man, if I had like this sum of money, I'd be done. And I'm starting to think, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, where are we going? What's going on? And up until this point, I usually contacted a couple times a week from private equity, and I never really gave it any thought. And I've always had this question in my mind, like, when's the end, right? I've always had this dream of creating a company and $100 million of valuation, but I'm like, what we're doing as an organization, like, we've had the success of slow incremental growth. And what I mean by that, sometimes we grew 40%, 20%. It was never fast enough for me. I'm like, we have a real opportunity to hockey stick. Yeah. And for the last couple of years, we've been like in this foundational build years. I'm like, at some point, when are we getting out of this? So we had some pretty big challenges as an organization. I felt that, the team members might not have seen or been privy to, but from a leadership standpoint, we had some big investments that needed to be made. And I started questioning, like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? And for whatever reason, I was contacted by this guy, Todd Taskey from Potomac Capital. I got an email just like any other day. He emails me something, yada, yada, your company. And I'm like, I'm kind of bored that day, or I was like doing something else. But I looked at him, and he looked like this guy, Grant Cardone, which I just read 10X and I think I watched the TV show. I'm like, I'm going to call this guy just because I'm bored and see what he has to say. So he calls me, he's super slick. I kind of like him. And I'm like, I gave him some like FU price, right? Like, you want to do business, here's where I'm at. And he took it like a champ. He's like, okay, well, maybe we'll talk and maybe not. And this is a long-term process, yada, yada, yada. 2 weeks go on. He's like, hey, like, I know that, you gave me this number, but there's this guy in Alabama that I think you should talk to. Again, like, in my mind, it was there, but like, I never had this, like, here's what I'm searching for. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to go out and find it. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's how I've lived my life. Like, I'm a hunter. Like, you want to go shoot an 8-point buck? Like, let's go. We're going to buy the gear. We're going to scout. We're going to do this. I wasn't in that mode. I was like, okay, I'm open. And I ended up being introduced to this guy in Alabama, Scott Bell. And he's like, just have a conversation. So I had a conversation, and, up until this point, I've talked to people, I'm kind of, I'm a different kind of guy. And I don't know, I start talking to this guy and we hit it off right away. And I'm like talking to him, and like everything that pained me from the agency side and everything that pained them, we both had. So like, they needed technology. They needed a guy like me. They needed a company like ours to kind of roll into their fold. And what they had that we didn't have is, as CEO and entrepreneur of high level marketing, I led sales. And I always ran into a challenge of finding a true sales leader who could manage the day to day. And our intake process was very clunky. So I think we did a good job of like selling customers, but then sort of we would set expectations after and go through this process. And I wanted to change all of that. And I knew we needed to change all that. And lo and behold, this company had already done that 2 years ago. And now they're on the far side of that, and we're sharing these war stories. It's like, here's two guys, super hungry entrepreneurs. They did a little bit more revenue than us. And I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, where is this going to go? And I just wasn't really, I didn't have enough, everybody always talks about like, you got to get this amount of EBITDA and this has to happen. And I was just like, I'm just infatuated with this company. And I'm thinking like, here I am, I've been bitching, moaning, complaining to myself for 2 years about how are we going to grow? This could be a really big opportunity. Not to mention, like, look, let's face it, let's state the facts. I'm 39. I think we've done a great job of building the company. And I'm like, I don't want this thing to be worth zero in 2 years when I have no fucking clue what's going to happen. I don't know. COVID might be the test for what's going to come. So I started thinking like, how do I now leverage and diversify what I've created, where we're going? So having these conversations, I'm like, look, I'm also 39. I don't want to like tap out and say I'm done. I mean, I love to play golf. I love to hang out at the lake, but I can't do that for the rest of my life. Like, I got to go, I got to build stuff, break stuff. So I wanted to create something where we could take some off the table, but then also be heavily involved in the future growth of the company. So that was sort of how I designed it in my mind. And it kind of, everything fell into place. And we started having those conversations like August, September, and we ended up closing the deal at the end of February. So once we got the LOI out of the way, kind of agreed to some terms, a couple bruises, couple cuts, but we came to some terms on both sides, and we are now 3.5 months into the integration. It's a lot of work, but I wouldn't change it for a bit. It's exciting, a lot more resources. It was interesting. I actually just had lunch with somebody who's been with me since day one of HLM, and just kind of talking to her now what she's doing in the organization and just kind of the whole process. Like I kind of live and thrive in chaos. And I think that's part of this process. Like, nothing was really happening or moving. I needed to really disrupt things. And this was a pretty big one, but the team was responsive. I was also looking for the team because I felt that, at some point, HLM was growing and growing, but I'm like, unless we do something big, we're going to nosedive, So I was also looking out for the team and what their opportunity was in the future, because consolidating resources, getting new people on the team, and really, just additional ideas and support. Because we went from 47 employees to now I think we're 106.
Yeah, that's
and we have like 10 recs out.
Yeah. How did that go? Did everybody on your team at HLM before say, yeah, it's a great idea, like, let's do it? Or did you have like, people say, I'm not doing this?
Yeah. So I waited to tell everybody. I believe we were closing the deal on a Friday, and I told everybody on a Tuesday or Wednesday. It leaked. It was almost impossible to like. A couple people found out through the grapevine. Is things that happen, but what I did, we run off this methodology called EOS. It's like a business management tool to run successful meetings and run your company. And so every department has these. Every week there's this dedicated meeting, and I joined all those meetings and got in front of the company, each department, and kind of just shared the story and said, the why, the rationale behind it, and I'm very much a hands-on guy and build relationships with my team. So I'm like, look, I'm happy to answer any kind of questions. And people came at me. I mean, a couple of people took a swing, and this is selfish, and so I tried to do my best to explain everything. It's almost like I look back and like when my parents used to say, we're doing this for your own good, and I'm like bitching and moaning, and this is the worst thing. And then a couple years later, and like now being 39, I'm like, wow, mom, dad, thank you very much. Like now I see the lesson. But like I was kind of okay, because I'm like, look, this is what's good for you, and I'm not going to go into detail to tell you everything that's going on, but like this is the next step for growth. Change is hard, but change needs to happen. And the ironic thing was people, yeah, like
your company,
right. But like people that I thought were gonna have a negative reaction actually had a different reaction. So it's really interesting to see who react. Yeah, and I mean, there was a couple people I was like, man, I'm gonna have fun, having this conversation. But they were like, you know what? I get it, I see it, I support it, and we're excited. Now we did lose a couple people that I think for whatever reason, this gave them again. So just to kind of put context behind it, so my partner's CTO of the company, old HLM. I'm the CEO founder. So with this transaction, we are very much both owners of the new entity together, but my title has now changed to Chief Revenue Officer. So the CEO of Bell Media is now the CEO of the combined companies together, which is High Level Marketing. And that kind of scared some people. So I think a couple people bailed because they saw it as the opportunity where whether they were on the fence or not, it was like, things are changing, new CEO, now's the time that I can leave, and it's not that big of a deal. Right, and I think what also pushed some people is, being COVID, not being in an office, and literally all they have to do is log off a Zoom call and now they're done. I think that had a lot to do with it too, because I would say without COVID happening, I don't know if this would have happened the way it happened.
Sure.
Because being in an office, being around everybody, like it's just, everything's, I'm very serendipitous kind of guy, and like how everything lined itself up and kind of like it's very bizarre and eerie how it all happened. But yeah, it went well. Like I had a little reservation, I think regardless of who you are or what you do, like, I kind of get a little anxiety getting in front and sharing with people to the company, but it felt great. A lot of people support it. A couple people, big promotions within the organization, and everything I sort of, for lack of better terms, pitched them as to what was going to come has happened, and we're working hard to make that happen. So this was a merger to come together to grow. And that was probably the one thing that I had to be very vocal about. Like, this isn't, people hear merger and they're like, I'm going to lose my job, or there's downsizing. And this was, no, like, we need you. We need more talent. We have 10 or so recs out right now. Like, this is a growth strategy move, and we absolutely need you. And I would say the majority of everybody embraced it, and they're still, enjoying it.
So this is the rub here, which is really interesting about this, is that you didn't sell the company and like walk away and say and run with them. I mean, that wasn't really your intention. And the way that you set it up for yourself, where you're actually where you still created an environment where you were hungry and you were still going to be challenged. And you didn't, that's the other thing that I think is really cool about this, Wes, is that you didn't leave your people. You've stuck around, and you've even put yourself in a position where you now have a boss, correct? I mean, like you're not the big boss. You're not the CEO. You're the CRO. You made your own title because, that's like the chief sales guy, right? I mean, you're in charge of the sales and marketing. But it's just interesting how you set up your deal so that you took care of yourself and your partner the way you promised, but you also have taken care of all the employees that have been with you as you promised. and you made good on that. And they see that, like what you just said, they see, wow, he's a man of his word. He did what he said, and we are growing. And it's so how is that? How does that, everybody gets along with the new CEO? That was that weird for everybody? Like, okay, now Wes is not, because you are a big personality. So like, how is that? I mean, that's gotta be a little different.
It's different, right? For sure. But I'll tell you, I had these guys out, my new partners, they came up last week and kind of hung out in Detroit and met the team. And, I think I've created not just me, we've all created this culture of like, the team's really cool. Everybody's great. And the one thing I said to all the team, I said, look, I go, maybe I questioned myself as CEO because, we grew to 6.5 million last year and at HLM North. And that's where I'm like, we should be doing more. And it's me. Like, I'm the problem. I'm the guy at the head. And I have to look in the mirror and say, maybe this is the time where I truly have to move into a professionally managed company. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I'm the CEO because nobody else would take the title.
Maybe
right? So
I'm gone as far as I can with this, right?
So
you're like,
and that's kind of where I looked at this. When I met this guy, Scott, I saw a lot of things I didn't see in myself. So I said, in order to get to the next level, like, look, they had a fantastic COO, got along with him well. I looked at Scott, and what I told my team is I said, look, do you trust me? They're like, well, I'm still here and we've been here. I said, I'm going to be this guy's right-hand man, knocking people out. Like, I'm going to make this guy the best CEO he can be, because I think that's my purpose for the next 3 to 5 years, is let him be a CEO and let me be that kind of guy on the side that can help grow. Because if you would ask anybody at old HLM North, they're going to say, like, if you could stick me anywhere to do anything, what would it be? They're all going to say, get him in a room with people, let him build relationships, let him close big deals. And I said, guess what? That's all I'm doing in the new company. All the process bullshit, all the stuff I hate, he's going to do it. Like, that's what he loves to do. And that's where I'm like, the yin yang that John and I created with ourselves, it's now this bigger yin yang of new players in the game that now we can realistically do bigger revenue. So now I see this $100 million vision actually becoming a reality. I was lying to myself for years at old HLM. It wasn't possible in that state. So this is, and again, as an entrepreneur, I'm always like, how do I grow? How do I go? It's not about the money. It's about the size and the growth and the opportunity. I love creating opportunities for people. I love, so for me, it's
the
I think
joy in that. Yeah.
I think a lot of people saw that, right?
We're marketers, and that's what we've been doing. We love to help our clients be successful. That's what we get from this. You get to a point, and you and I had a conversation before. You get to a point where you got all the stuff, right? Where and you get to a point where you're like beyond what you ever thought you would get to, right? Yep. And then you look back and like, what is this? What is it that I really am enjoying about this? And I think that you and I will agree that it's really about helping our clients be successful. And, they got the same head trash. We're entrepreneurs. We got this head trash that we can't, like all that stuff. And it's great. What a great you use the word serendipity. I mean, it's fun. That's the name of my boat, by the way, serendipity. Because nice. I believe in that 100%. Is like, and your story, it just seems, it's like the perfect storm that happened, and things.
I started to get a little complacent, during COVID. Like, I just felt nobody would say no to me in the company at old HLM. Like, everybody's like always nodding their head. And I'm like, I have to really challenge myself. And, I think that was one of the big drivers of, because some people ask me, like, dude, you're like, all my peers, my close friends are like, dude, you're going to hate this. You're going to last 2 months. Like, there's no way that you're going to be able to do this. And I said, it's a challenge for me. And like, that's what I want right now. Cause I see an opportunity. And I think that's what makes entrepreneurs different. I see something that most people don't see. Yeah. And I'm able to go through the things that others won't go through to get to that point. And
because you're brave.
I think with
chances. Right.
Yeah. And like this deal and like these guys, like it's almost like, man, it's crazy how it all came together. Timings, impeccable. I mean, these guys were amazing to work with through this process. And, you know, I was on a podcast and talking to somebody, and I almost walked, like I turned 180 degrees on this deal. Like I literally got to the finish line and I called the guy Todd and I said, I'm walking away.
Yeah.
Like there's no way I can do this. Like I just freaked out and I started thinking like, I mean, look, money's flowing, like things are great. Like why disrupt this thing?
Is that when you took your
So-
2 weeks? Was that the 2 weeks
Yeah.
you took to make
Yeah,
it?
I took 2 weeks, you know, and just said, look, you know, I'll make a decision so fast on everything else in my life. But this one, I told the guy, Todd, I said, you got to give me 2 weeks. And if you want to say kick rocks, that's fine. But that's what I'm going to do. And he's like, oh, they're going to be pissed off and blah, blah, blah. And the CEO of that company called me like the next day or something. And he's like, hey, man, he's like, take as much time as you want. He's like, I get it. Like he was super supportive and he kind of walked me through some of the stuff that he like. And I knew right then and there, I'm like, these are stand-up guys. I mean, like I never met them in person up until like a week ago. So everything's been through Zoom, but I'm like, these are people that I want to partner with. I think you come across people in life where, you know, look, I've been doing this now for like 13, 14 years. I meet a lot of people, and, you know, just how he approached me and talked to me authentically and genuinely, like that meant a lot. And I said, you know what, like this feels right. And I'm going to move forward with the deal. And, you know, the post-mortem 3 months after, it's like, this is great. Like it's challenging. A lot of stuff comes up, but it's really cool. It's almost like the good old days when we were first creating our company and we didn't know what we were doing or how, you know, where we were going. But it's just introducing the two groups together and getting our processes into one and taking the good here, the bad there. And, you know, it's just, it's exciting. And that's what I thrive on, is this exciting excitement.
Well, that's great, man. That's great that it has all worked out so far. And I have no doubt that it's going to keep going. I mean, you got a great story. Obviously, it inspires me. I got some years on you, Wes. But, you know, our stories are very similar in terms of how we've built the company. I mean, the size is what you had 49 people. I got 50 people. You did 6.5.
Yeah.
I think we did a little over 5 this year. And that's what we've been. And it's the same kind of thing. And I struggle with the same types of things that you struggle with. And we as entrepreneurs need inspiration, and we're passionate people. And we need, you know, we need to find things that keep us going and challenges, you know. So, you know, it was just so great. Ben sending me the podcast that you were on where I got to meet you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me again and with the listeners. Thank
you.
I mean, it's like I said, it's very inspiring. I hope it's inspiring to all the people listening, you know, all the lawyers listening or whoever. I'll just ask you not to go run to his company. You can check out his web. He's got a nice website, man. You guys know what they're doing. So, Wes, I appreciate it, man. Great.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. It's awesome meeting you and appreciate the opportunity.
And I hope to meet you in person soon. As I told you, we got started. I just bought that building in Old Town, which we're going to make into a training center and hold mastermind groups there. So
I'd love to come out there. Love to have you out to Detroit too. I don't know when the last time you've been here, but the city of Detroit has come a long way in the last decade. It's a pretty amazing place to go to.
Yeah, I would love that, my friend. All right, Wes. Well, everybody, it's been Wes Mathews. Great story of entrepreneurism and success. We'll be checking in with you probably in a couple months to see how it goes again. But thank you again, Wes. Everybody,
thank you, Tom.
Subscribe, share, like, do all those things. We got to push, I got to do this thing. But Wes, you take care of yourself, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody, you hang on for a minute. Okay, everybody, Tom Foster in the world of marketing, Wes Mathews. Thank you.
Thank you.